So just for kind of a brief introduction, Reviewr is an application management software where pretty much anything that you are running applications through, we can run for you. So scholarships, grants, awards, call for speakers, call for entries, whatever that might be, we can run for you in Reviewr. And so, kind of as we get started, I am Hallie. I'll be hosting this webinar, and I work one-on-one with all of our clients from the time they are onboarded into Reviewr up until they kind of close out. So I'm with them every step of the way, understanding their frustrations from past processes, platforms, things along those lines. And then also, I can kind of see what's working really well for them, what has made improvements in their scholarship program, things like that. So I just kind of have that insider perspective of understanding how admin like you are feeling about their scholarship programs, and just kind of understanding the difference that Reviewr has made in the way that they are running it. So the first thing, I'm going to go back. This webinar is going to go over the three mistakes that secretly are derailing your scholarship program. And so just kind of briefly, we have 84% on average admin efficiency gain when they're coming on Reviewr, a 79% reduction in Reviewr workload, and then a 31% increase in application volume. So just kind of getting started. So the platform that is built for the full scholarship life cycle. So having more purpose behind the platform that you're running these scholarships for. First thing to kind of touch on is the end-to-end program management. So not only from the time that your applicants are coming into the system, they are filling out their application, they're done, that post-award selection process, and then impact reporting. All of it is done in one place, which is really, really important, predominantly for those submitters because that makes it a really easy, smooth process and they'll continue to submit, they'll continue to tell their friends to submit. But also on the back side of that is that that's very beneficial to you as admin. We understand that for most of you, running this scholarship program probably is not your main job. Probably just kind of another side gig, something that you picked up at work. And so, as many ways as possible that we can make this experience cleaner, easier, quicker, more efficient for you, we want to work towards that. Second thing is going to be a fair and structured review. Arguably, the biggest part of running your scholarship process is actually awarding and picking out who is going to be receiving these scholarships. And so, with that, making sure that we have that fair and structured, review. That comes down to your scorecard, your judges, how you are managing those assignments and kind of breaking up that workload, and just kind of how you're running your overall evaluation process. The third thing is being built for scholarship admin. So this is obviously main priority is having a good outcome for those applicants, but we also want you to have a good outcome because if you guys are happy and you're running your program efficiently and smoothly, that's going to turn over and create a great experience for your applicants. And then the last kind of thing is the impact that's easy to report. So your scholarships, the people who have received those scholarships are going to come back in from year to year, post year, and show the impact that your scholarship made. This is really important, especially for those of you who are running scholarships that are funded by organizations, communities, businesses. You want to be able to show to them and prove to them that the money they donated for those scholarships is going to a good cause and it's making a big difference in these applicants' lives. So, kind of thinking who is this webinar for? If you are an association or foundation running member scholarships, community awards, grant programs, if you're a corporate foundation, so managing more of your employee scholarships, CSR giving, community investment programs, higher education and nonprofits, so administering programs that are requiring a more structured review and ongoing engagement. Program administrators, so maybe you aren't any of those things, but you're just running kind of a plain Jane, simple old scholarship process, but it's not working out very well. This is the place for you. Exploring better tools. You're running those scholarship programs that really should be easy and shouldn't be eating up all of your time, but it is. So looking for something that's going to help make that more efficient. And then scaling your program. If you've kind of plateaued and had around that same number, even dipped in the last 5, even 10 years, You want to scale your program, okay? You're going to be able to measure your impact a lot more as we increase those numbers. You're going to be able to keep hosting these scholarship events, keep on kind of moving on with your programs if we grow. If we're not growing, we're not gaining. So, kind of the reality is that your program is running, right? That's great. You're kind of getting by bare minimum, but what is that costing you? Um, you might think that this program does not cost you anything. You have all of your funds from donations or from fundraisers. You have the funds. So, technically, this is a zero cost scholarship program. But what you're not accounting for is all the time and effort that you are putting in as admin on the back end, as well as your other volunteers in the process. Most of your evaluators are going to be volunteers. And so making sure that we aren't wasting the time of everyone involved because that is an opportunity cost. So kind of some of those things that is eating up at your time. Number one is going to be chasing down your ineligible applicants, telling them that they're not eligible, kind of just wasting your time down that rabbit hole. Managing reviewer assignments. So you don't have an organized way to assign all of your submissions to your evaluators. That's overwhelming for you. That's frustrating for you. And then that leaves your scorecard, your judges, kind of lost, right? They're feeling, how many more of these do I have? How many do I have to begin with? They just don't really have any insight or any visibility, which is a really overwhelming and stressful feeling. And then just overall spending hours following up with your scholarship applicants just to get all of the basic, the bare minimum required information, which shouldn't be your job. Everything should be in one place, easy for that applicant to complete in one swipe. So, kind of moving forward, the three things that we're going to cover today are going to be no eligibility checks and opportunity matching, volunteer fatigue from poor pairing and scoring processes, and then no system for scholar deliverables and impact reporting. So kind of going over every stage of your application process that kind of has a big error that is costing you a lot more than you might think. So getting started, that first thing that we're going to talk about is no eligibility checks and opportunity matching. One of the biggest frustrations that I see clients coming in with is the fact that they are having, say, 300 people apply to their program and only 200 or only 150 of them are actually eligible for this scholarship, which is super frustrating, not only on your end, because then that's 150, 200 more scholarships that you have to go through that you shouldn't, but then also frustrating for that scholarship applicant because they spent their time filling out something that they actually aren't eligible for. So frustrating on both ends. And then with that opportunity matching, so a lot of our scholarship programs that are ran in Reviewr offer, say, 5 to 10 scholarships per event. And so with that, they have the ability to apply to one or more scholarships. And then they kind of can be evaluated based on that and be decided who's going to receive what based on that. Something that's really kind of neat and important with the opportunity matching is that what we can do is based on eligibility questions, kind of precursor questions, is we can match these applicants up to the scholarships that apply best to them. So if you have 10 scholarships and this specific applicant is going to match best and have the best chance at this scholarship, we'll let them know and we'll put that up there. Which is a really important thing because again, that's helpful for the submitter, but then also for you. So you're going to have the best quality applicants applying to their best applicable scholarships. So I want to just show you really quickly kind of what that eligibility process looks like, but also just kind of what the Reviewr application process looks like. Throughout the webinar, I'm going to note a lot the all-in-one place kind of mentality that we have, which is really important, again, for the submitters and for you as admin. And so what that kind of looks like is we actually will have the submitters create an account, and then this account is good for future scholarship events that you're running, but also any other event in your community, your kind of area, anything along those lines that they can use for everything. So if I'm applying for your scholarship, but I'm also applying for the Empower scholarship, same account, I have access to everything in one place, and it's a really clean and smooth process for those applicants. So we're going to kind of go through that. This is what that create an account process looks like. Just to kind of briefly show you what your submission form could look like in Reviewr, just kind of that basic information, really clean, everything kind of separated into pages. You will see we have this save and log out button, which is really helpful. We all know sometimes though that submitters are going to look over that, they're going to time out on the form, they're just going to exit without saving. As you move through the form, all of your progress is going to be saved. So if there's a 10-page form and I make it through 8 pages and I make it through halfway in 9, those 8 pages will save. Just that snippet of 9 that I didn't save won't be saved. So it's a really great way to kind of cover your submitters back. Just because we know that sometimes they can be a little bit careless, maybe not be thinking about it, spend a lot of time and then get distracted, that kind of thing. So it's really important that we kind of cover them that way. So here's that scholarship matching tool. And so just kind of basic questions, not necessarily eligibility, but more of a matching scheme. And then what you can do with this is that if they don't apply for any, if they don't meet the requirements, we can then kick them out of the form, not let them move any further, put them in a specific group, a specific status, so it's super clear to you as admin that they are not eligible. Here's that eligibility that I was talking about based on the answers in that matching, they are eligible for those scholarships. They can kind of move through. So your eligibility and your matching can either be two separate things or they can be kind of ran together. We have clients that do both. It really just kind of depends on how you want to run your program and what you kind of think looks the cleanest. Perfect. So, kind of covering back some of the things, now you see what that looks like. So, let's talk a little bit about what happens if we don't have that. Your reviewers, if you don't have eligibility and you as an admin don't go through and look to make sure that everyone is eligible, which arguably isn't your job, your reviewers are going to be overwhelmed and they're going to be overworked and they really don't need to be. Um, so kind of just going back over the things I've already said, applicants who don't qualify are going to spend their time going through something that they don't even qualify for. Reviewers are going to waste their time scoring because they're not even eligible. So as you're going through and you see your top applicants, maybe your top applicant isn't even eligible for that scholarship, which is frustrating. Ineligible submissions are going to end up diluting the pool and kind of skew the comparative scoring. So I'll go over something later in the webinar called a normalization report, which is where we average out scores. And so if you're running that report before you realize that someone's eligible, that's going to mess up everyone else's score. And that could be a deciding factor between who gets the scholarship and who doesn't. Um, if you say you are an admin who's going to be really particular, which is great, and make sure that everyone is eligible, that's going to take a really long time. It's slow, and chances are you're still going to miss some people. And then your qualified applicants are going to miss opportunities that they didn't know they're eligible for. So say they know they're eligible for 3 scholarships, but they actually are for 4. What that matching and eligibility does is matches them up to every opportunity that is applicable to them. So just kind of the flip side of that, you saw that with the eligibility. Only eligible applicants are going to be able to move through your form. There's going to be a clear divide of who's ineligible and who's not. That's going to save you time as an admin and then also your reviewers time because there really is 2 ways that can go. Either you take the time as an admin to check who's eligible or your judges do. Either way, not fair and not something you should have to do. Let's make the system do it for you. Your applicants are going to be matched to what they do qualify for, what best fits them. And then that just makes an overall better review process for your reviewers. Um, We already kind of went through how Reviewer screens applicants at intake and automatically surfaces the right opportunities. Kind of jumped the gun a little bit on that, but that's kind of what that looks like. Second thing that we're going to talk about is volunteer fatigue from poor pairing and scoring processes. And so this is something that is really important, just kind of in the grand scheme of things with your event. Again, arguably the most important part of your submission process is who's evaluating and how things are being evaluated. Number one, chances are kind of like your evaluators, your judges are going to be volunteers, either from your organization, from your work, from your community. They're coming in and donating their time to fill out these evaluation forms to score and decide who are going to be the scholarship recipients, which is great. The problem with that is that they're volunteers, they have no obligation to stay with you. And so making sure that you give them a good experience, a good process is super, super important. Um, Kind of moving forward, some of the issues that we are seeing. is that and this is kind of going back onto a manual process for you, but you're manually matching up your applicants with your reviewers. You are manually assigning each evaluation, which is really time consuming, not a great process. And chances are things are not going to be even. With that, um, no blind review, something that we see with pretty much everyone who comes into Reviewr from past platforms, or just from doing a manual spreadsheet, PDF, that kind of application, is that there's no data redaction, which is really important. Especially, I know a lot of scholarships that are ran are kind of community based, and so your volunteers are going to know the applicant. So it's really important for a fair review that we take out any identifying data. So whether that's name, address, anything throughout the form that could be a giveaway to those evaluators who that submitter was. Also with our reviewers, not a great process for them, especially when we have them looking at 8 different things at once. We have the Google form for the actual scholarship application. We have the transcript, we have the letter of recommendation, we have the essay, all in 8 different places, which is really hard, A, for you to send out as an admin, but then B, for your reviewers to actually get everything opened up at once, get a good view of everything, not forget something, really not a good experience. Um, Another thing that I see a lot of is we kind of just have a willy-nilly rubric coming in. So either they don't have one and they just say, everyone meet together, let's flip a coin and let's decide who's going to get this scholarship. Or maybe you do just kind of spread everything out and you say, okay, evaluate these 5 submissions and tell me which one you think is best. No rubric involved. Again, not a very good process because that's not fair to our applicants. That's not fair to our reviewers. It's kind of just leaving everyone in a gray area, which is not what we want. So what's really important on the rubric kind of side of things is that everyone is scoring off of the same rubric, whether that's scholarship to scholarship or event wide. But then also that everyone kind of has a clear understanding. So it's great that we have one rubric for everyone, but making sure that everyone has kind of the same understanding, same idea of what those questions are is really important. So, kind of moving forward with efficient reviews, you as an admin have the ability to either manually, automatically assign all. You have a lot of kind of freedom of how you want to set up your evaluation process. Blind review capabilities. We have that ability to redact data, which is really important. Split screen. This is probably something that I think is the most beneficial thing to our review process is the fact that, again, everything is in one place, but you have that scorecard on the right side and then you have that submission form on the left. And so your reviewers can literally see the entire submission form on that left side, scroll through the evaluation form. Everything is just in the palm of their hands, which is really important. Easy accessibility for them, but then also just a more efficient scoring process. Scoring rubrics that are weighted based on what is most important to that scholarship, to your program. And then with that, making sure that our scores are kind of the most fair that they can possibly be. We're really pushing for more emotional responses as opposed to um, just a 1 through 10 rating, because what we see there is my version of a 6 might be really different from Sally's version of a 6 when we're scoring an application. And also, really, what is the big difference between a 5 and a 6? What separates them? Is it the same for me as it is for Sally? It's not, chances are. And so, having things like um, using words such as above average, exceeds expectations, does not meet expectations, below average, kind of having those emotional responses and then associating points with them is a really great way to kind of work around that rubric and try as much as possible to get away of just kind of the individuality of scoring. And then with kind of all of those small improvements, it's going to be a all around better experience for your reviewers, but you're going to be getting much more high quality reviews from those judges. When the experience is good for them, they're more happy to be there, they're more happy to spend more time there and give their best evaluations possible. So, just kind of looking at that, we can hop over into kind of what it looks like for our reviewers. Really quick, I do want to show you just kind of that admin view. And so something that we do with all of our submissions is that when it's time for them to be reviewed, they have to be in a group. For scholarships, especially, it's really easy to auto group based on the scholarship they're applying for or specific criteria that you want them to be separated for during that evaluation process. But just to kind of show you what I was talking about with that evaluation setup, you'll select either your submissions or your reviewers, assign them to one another, and then you can use either the assign all action, the auto assign action, which I'll briefly touch on in just a minute, or the manual assign option. The auto assign is a really great option for you just because it's going to be random, so there's no admin bias. Because as much as you don't want there to be, there is the possibility that you do just subconsciously, nothing that you're doing intentionally, but just subconsciously that does happen. And then this will randomly assign your submission so that they have kind of that same number of reviews, and then you can kind of move along that way. So that's just something cool to kind of note. Right now I'm kind of in the judge's view. So they get the view of all of their submissions that they have been assigned to. This, for example, is what it will look like after they have completed their reviews. They can see the score that they gave for each one. And then here's an example of if we were to redact that data. So you can see the submission name, team name, and then right here, this is blurred out. We'll just have that be inexistent when we do redact that data. But just kind of an overall view of what that judge portal looks like. And then we can hop in and see what that actual review process looks like. So over here on the left, we have that submission form. So you can see the entire applicant submission form is over here on the left. Every single part of it. If there's files, you can have an in-file viewer. You also have that attachments tab up there where you can see every uploaded file, which is really helpful. And then over on the right, we have that scorecard. And so we can see that we have our options over here. These, for example, some of our scholarship programs, there are kind of automatic scorings that need to be put in place. For example, GPA, excuse me, activities. So when you want to have points that are automatically associated and you don't want to risk your judges kind of off scoring, when we have them just select what their, GPA was as opposed to um, having them actually kind of vote what score they should receive based on what GPA they have, it'll automatically assign that point at the bottom. So with every selection that you make, it'll auto-populate. You can kind of play around with however you want to put these questions out there. Really up to you. A lot of flexibility, which is really great. Another thing that I did not touch on was the supplemental forms process, which I can kind of scroll down and show you. And I can always come back to at the end of the meeting. But what we do is we invite outside users in for letter recommendations, for transcripts, things along those lines. And what that does is that kind of gets rid of the gray area between you and the applicant. You invite the reference straight into the form. They come in, they either upload a letter or they rate them or they fill out these questions and they submit and then you're done. It keeps kind of the hassle of things getting sent to you, sent to the applicant, being uploaded, the risk of any changes in letters. And then you can confirm that it actually is coming from that specific person. So a really great process there. You can also see that the recommenders have access to that as well, which is really great. Something else that we have to offer is an AI summary. So as your judges are kind of going through that process, maybe you're doing a multi-round or they want to just get a quick summary before they dive in, we can turn on that for you as well. I see we have a comment that says I can still figure out what the redacted names are. So the example here is just blurring them out, which I can understand how you might be able to figure that out there. That's just for an example, just for our presentation purposes. When we actually redact data in the submission form and in the evaluator's portal, this will all just be blank. There won't be anything to be blurred out. It will just be blank. We'll have the submission ID. So these two columns will just be taken out. So it looks like that on here, but you actually won't be able to tell who it is on the evaluator's portal or in that submission form. All right. And then the last kind of topic that we will go over is there's no system for scholar deliverables and impact reporting. And so here's kind of the problem with this is that a lot of you are running these scholarship programs. They sound so great. All these people are getting scholarships. That's great. But then you have your donors and you have other members of the community, and they see at the scholarship banquet who got their scholarship. That's great. Half of them probably won't receive a thank you letter, and then the other half of them won't even be able to see what that scholarship did. And so we're really pushing for kind of that impact report. Give them an opportunity to where your scholarship recipients have to come back in, say 6 months later, and say how this scholarship affected them. Provide a proof that they sent that thank you letter to the donor, that kind of thing. So if you were to do some kind of impact report, right now it's probably a manual process. So you're going and you're emailing, reaching out to all these scholarship recipients. Half of them you won't receive replies from, half of them you won't be able to find their information. Their email has changed. And so that just makes it a really manual and not a very good process for you as the admin. And so no centralized system for collecting your enrollment verifications, transcripts, progress reports. So another part of the scholarship process is that a lot of times our scholarships are going to require that you show a proof of enrollment. And so you give them the scholarship. It's divided into 2 semesters. But before you get that second semester second semester reimbursement, you have to prove that you're enrolled. So that's kind of where that report comes in to where they automatically have access to that. They can log back in and they could submit. Super easy. Once that's submitted, you have the go ahead to send them that check. Administers, again, manually emailing scholars to collect those deliverables. Your scholars are going to miss the milestones without automated reminders, without you on their backs all the time. They're going to miss them. Your impact data is going to be scattered across emails and spreadsheets, if you even have it. And so, again, going back to kind of that general idea that everything in one place is better than having it across 4 different people's emails in 8 different files in 6 different spreadsheets, that kind of thing. And then with that, once we get that impact report actually in place, you can bring that to the board. You can bring it to your donors, your stakeholders, bring it to your community and show what these are doing, get more people involved. I think that the impact report is something that is really kind of overlooked in the scholarship process. And while it might seem like it's kind of an extra step, that's how you grow your scholarship program. More awareness, more proof, more impact is going to bring more people in, more recipients, more donors, everyone. And then your program's value, again, is just going to be invisible because you can't measure what you don't track. So without those impact reports, without seeing where those scholarships are going to, there's nothing to prove because you don't have anything there. So, kind of moving forward, automated deliverable collection. So, that is your enrollment verification, your transcripts, your progress reports. Your scholar portal is going to have that milestone tracking so they can see the real-time status. Automated reminders for your applicants. So, you don't manually have to go and nag on those applicants to get their documents uploaded. Outcome and impact data, is captured in structured reportable formats. So again, it's not going to be different between every applicant. They're all going to log in, all fill out the same information and be done. All of that is going to be in one place. You can turn it into a spreadsheet to which you can share with the people of your organization. So see what it looks like when post-award runs on structured workflows instead of email follow-ups. Um, Perfect. So just kind of getting a view of what that application process looks like. Here's a quick view of your admin dashboard. You can see the status of everyone, see what you still need. See if you still need those references, the impact reports, the transcript verification. You can see those milestones. So see when things are being sent out, see when those applicants need to kind of follow up on things. And then looking at your scholarships, getting a good view of them, and then just kind of understanding, sending out those emails, seeing where they're at. You can communicate directly, let them know what they're missing, what they need to come back in and fill out. Internal notes as well that can also be viewable to your reviewers, which is really beneficial. You have access to their attachments, evaluations, downloading, viewing, all of those things. Perfect. Yeah, just a quick little click through so you guys can kind of see what they look like. And I'll hop back over here. So, kind of going to recap, as I'm just kind of going through everything that we went over. If you guys have questions, go ahead and type them out and then I'll get to them at the end. If there's anything that you want me to go back on in the slides, I can. So as I'm kind of just recapping, you guys can go ahead and ask any questions that you might have. So just to kind of recap the three main things that we went over that we see a lot of people struggling with that when are fixed, make a huge turn in your application process. One is going to be the lack of eligibility checks and opportunity matching. Do yourself a favor, do your submitters a favor, give yourself the time that you deserve, and set up those eligibility checks, set up the opportunity matching. Volunteer fatigue from poor pairing and scoring processes. Give your volunteers the best experience possible so that they continue to come back into your event. They continue to come and spread positive reviews about the event that you're running and just overall make their experience great. Give them something that they can thrive on and they can complete to the best of their ability. And then the last thing is create a impact report and scholar deliverables that they're required to come in and submit. Have something that you can show to your board members, to your stakeholders, to your community. Show something that you can be proud of, show that impact that your scholarship program is making.